the central government has notified the Drone Rules 2021, a much more liberalized set of rules, if one may say. Several requirements and approvals have been abolished, and this is of course expected to make drone operations simpler for civilian drone operators in the country. Let me break down what some of the key takeaways are from the drone rules. Now, apart from the fact that there has been a simplification in the processes, the coverage of drones has been increased from 300 kgs to 500 kgs to include heavy payload carrying drones and drone taxis. The number of permissions and forms have been reduced from 25, now brought down to just 5. No security clearance is required for any registration or license issuance, and a fee for permission has also been reduced to nominal levels. No permission is required for operating a drone in green zones and up to 200 feet in any area between 8 and 12 kilometers from an airport perimeter. All drone training and examination is now going to be carried out by an authorized drone school, which will be overseen by the Director General of Civil Aviation. Now, the Prime Minister, interestingly, also tweeted today to say that the new drone rules will tremendously help startups and youth working in the sector. It will open up possibilities for innovation and business, and it will help leverage India's strength in innovation, technology and engineering to make India a drone hub. The question that we're asking on the broadcast today is, has the government managed to balance security concerns associated with unmanned aerial vehicles or drones, and have we sort of struck that balance between security concerns and industry expectations? Remember, these new rules are coming into play just a month after that horrific drone attack in Jammu. Let me introduce a panel of experts who will help us understand what these new rules mean for both industry and the security implications. We have with us Rajan Luthra. He is the chairman of FICCI Drones Committee. He is also the head of Special Projects, Reliance Industries Limited. We also have Rahat Kulshesh, the president of the Drone Federation of India. There are over 100 drone companies that actually fall under this drone federation. He is also the founder of Quidditch India. And we have Vikram Singh, former DGP of Uttar Pradesh, joining us to hopefully shed some light on the security implications of these new rules. Thank you all very much. Rajan Luthra, I want to begin by asking you, what industries do you think are going to benefit from this? Because largely, if you read the policy, it has liberalized the drone regime. It's also made it a lot easier for civilian drone operators.
So I think drones are called a transformative technology because they have such a wide range of applications, right? I think some of the areas where we are already seeing the impact are the Swamitva scheme for issuing property cards to the rural village areas. Agriculture is a big potential area. Even we are doing a project related to medicines being delivered using drones or vaccines being delivered using drones. Apart from these social impact areas, there are large number of commercial applications which are applicable across a wide segment of industry and sectors. Whether it is infrastructure, whether it is, let's say, the manufacturing industries, whether it is supply chain. So drones have a very wide variety of applications across a huge number of areas. At last count, we had more than 120 different applications for drones in the civil sector.
Right. Rahat Kulshesh, if I can bring you into the conversation, you're the president of the Drone Federation of India. You also run a drone company yourself. There are over 100 companies that are associated with the federation. Is this liberalization of the drone policy in India a welcome move? What are some of the key sectors that will benefit largely from this?
Thank you, Rishika. I think to start off with, compliments to all the people involved to be able to bring the regulation to this point. I think as an industry, it's been extremely challenging. From October of 2014 is when India saw the first ban on drones. And since then, it's been almost 7 years where the industry has really been trying to figure out how to be able to get to innovation and creation with the technology, as Mr. Rajan said, the applications are absolutely endless. It's not just the drone industry which gets impacted with this regulation, but a whole lot of different industries across the country that will be able to benefit from this, from the regulation the way it is. And I think it's been an absolute welcome change. I think the way it's been thought through has really been more about how do you make it more user-friendly, how do you make it enable ease of doing business. And I think, in the spirit of what the Prime Minister said this morning, making it into a trust-based and a self-certification-based system where really the industry is able to now go out there, flourish and put these drones up in the air to be able to make the impact across multiple industries.
Vikram Singh, security implications of a liberalized drone policy in the country are huge, and we know that drones have been a huge cause of concern as far as national security is concerned. We're having this conversation about a liberalized policy not very far long after the Jammu attack. How are you looking at this policy?
Rishika, I share the enthusiasm and the optimism of respected Rahatji and Rajatji and yours too. In your opening remarks, you mentioned how things have been made very simple, licensing have been made simple, import has been made simple. Another set of rules that were made just about 4 months ago have been done away with. Everything has become so simple that it is just for the asking. And rightfully so. The ecosystem, as they say, there are 200 startups that will benefit. And of course, 3 major players apart from the 10 who will strongly benefit, Bayer, SAIL and Mahindra and Mahindra. Of course, it's going to be a game changer and of course, would do extremely well for the ecosystem of robotics, artificial intelligence and drone technology. But with the proviso, I would say any optimism will have to be tempered with extreme caution. We cannot have a thing that has to be. But I would say certain checks and balances will come in future. This statute also, when the Gazette notification is there will be certain checks and balances, which I'm sure the government hasn't, because the security aspect will have to be addressed in a very different manner. That has to be a generation ahead of the licensing policy. The red tape of the licensing policy has been done away with. Most welcome. The ecosystem will benefit, of course, and interesting areas of delivery itself would be taken care of.
So are you saying that more checks and balances need to be put in place, Vikram Singh? Do I understand you correctly?
Precisely. I would say that as strongly checks and balances will have to be there. We cannot be indiscreet. We cannot be absolutely casual or cavalier about it.
Okay, that's a fair point. Let me also bring in how industry is looking at this. Rajan Luthra, do you agree with Vikram Singh? Because, you know, every time there is that the drones are misused, there is also an implication on industry. So, do you think more checks and balances need to be put in this policy, or are you happy with the policy the way it is?
So first of all, I think, Rishika, the policy has been long awaited, and I think by all stakeholders, whether it's the drone manufacturers, whether it's the end users, or even the academic institutions. I think the policy is a very welcome step, first of all. There is no two ways about it, especially the repealing of the policy that was released in March. I think that is a huge step that the government has taken, and we must commend them for it. Number two, as far as the concerns about security threats are concerned, this is no doubt a challenge, but I think this is a very well balanced approach that has been taken. As Vikram Singh ji was mentioning, there are potential features or safety features that will be deployed in the future, which will make sure that at least the rogue drones, see, the threat is only from the rogue drones, which in any case can be misused by miscreants in any circumstance.
Yes.
So while at least the enablement has happened of all the authorized users and the manufacturers to gain from these rules, the checks and balances that we talked about are being thought through as we speak.
Okay.
And I'm sure in due course of time, they will be also coming into place.
Rahat Kulshresht, number of forms reduced from 25 to 5. I know a lot of people will heave a huge sigh of relief. Because it cuts through the bureaucracy in a certain sense, but no security clearance is needed for registration. However, there's also now going to be drone schools that are going to be set up. How do you look at the checks and balances mechanism? Because remember, every time there is a rogue drone attack, it does have implications on your work as well.
Absolutely, and I think the industry is completely aware of that and is keen to be able to create as much support as possible to be able to address those security concerns, because at no point should the industry be benefiting at the cost of national security, and I think nobody is in favor of that. But I think what is important is to be able to de-link the regulation directly with the security concerns, because the regulation, as Rajanji said, is actually regulating the law-abiding citizens. It's actually giving a framework for the law-abiding citizens to be able to go out there and really do their job at the best of their ability. The rogue drones and the misuse of the drones, the people who are going to misuse these systems are anyway not going to be falling under the law and abiding by the law when it comes to that. And I think the easiest way to understand that analogy is with how cars are regulated today. This is just an extension of how automobiles today in our country can still be misused despite all of the regulation and licensing that there is. And it's exactly the similar situation with drones. And I think with the number of forms that have come down, I think that as well has been a welcome change, because with the earlier regime, it was to be able to even just do basic R&D at a university level, where you just wanted to put together some parts and do some testing. Even for something as simple as that, you needed to get whole layer of licenses to be able to do something as simple as that. And I think a lot of effort has gone into being able to bring the regulation to a point where R&D and innovation can be done at a really fast-paced speed, to be able to ensure that India can really benefit from this technology over the next few years and really, build towards the vision of being the drone hub of the world.
Well, one sincerely hopes that the benefits of the policy will outweigh the risks, and enough checks and balances have been put in place. It's a story we'll track very closely. Thank you all very much for joining us.